All right, hello everybody. We are back with yet another episode of sharing with you some of the key insights from our forthcoming book, The Framemaking Sale, which is due out in September, but is now available for pre-order on all your favorite book ordering pre-ordering websites. I'm joined by Carl Schmidt, my co-author, as always. Carl, good to see you. So this is episode number 6, and so what we've talked about in previous episodes is this idea that the whole core of the book, Carl, is the single biggest commercial opportunity for us to drive growth with both new customers and existing customers is to ensure that our customers are confident in the decisions that they're making on behalf of their company. And we've talked in previous episodes about the very special aspect of that confidence, which is it's not customers' confidence in you that matters, but customers' confidence in themselves. And what we thought we'd do today is talk about why all this matters in the first place. And the reason why it matters so much today to solve for customers' confidence in themselves, because I think we could agree, Carl, that customers' confidence is under threat. Is that fair?
No question. And that's where, once we appreciate the importance of confidence, then the question is, well, yeah, how do we help customers get it, right? What's blocking it? What are the issues? Where do we as sellers have an opportunity to make a difference so that customers are more confident and we can grow our businesses and sell these high quality, low regret deals?
In many ways today, B2B buying is broken. There's more people involved with more decision complexity. They're just kind of overwhelmed with lots of decisions. And there's this very famous sort of image of B2B buying, which we first created back in the Gartner days, which we've since revised and updated for the book, which we often refer to as the spaghetti bowl of B2B buying. And the spaghetti bowl of B2B buying looks a lot like this, which is if you think about a typical B2B purchase as sort of 4 steps or 4 jobs around problem identification, solution exploration, requirements building, supplier selection, you see across the middle of the page. It kind of feels, Carl, doesn't it, like, how hard could it be? And I know you're a very logical sort of process-oriented guy. That's why I love you, because you're like the yang to my yin, right? But but you think like that's kind of imagine sometimes, Carl, how you think about it. It's just like what do? You figure out your problem, you explore solutions, you build requirements, you select a supplier, and basta, you're done. But as we all know, as you roll tape, as it were, inside of typical organizations today, when they try to go on this relatively straightforward linear journey, it turns out to be 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Sometimes it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And they just get kind of lost in this decision morass of just trying to get this deal done. And at some point, it just becomes so overwhelming. And so customers just really ultimately lack confidence in their ability to just kind of not to buy something, but just to go on this journey altogether.
I love the experience we had when we were presenting some of this research initially.
Well, as you know, Carl, I mean, and you've been in many of these meetings over the years, right? We've literally in large conferences, small meetings, literally asked probably tens of thousands of people that question. If you had to think about your own purchase experience inside your own company, what word, what adjective would you use to describe that experience? And this is true. I've yet to hear a positive word, right? It's long, hard, awful, frustrating. To your point, Carl, it was in the Washington, D.C. meeting. It was the very first time I did this exercise. Someone said landmine. And I said, that's not an adjective. And he said landminish.
Yeah.
There's the story of the CMO in Chicago whose word was, I never want to do that again. And thinking about a recent CRM purchase.
One word, yes.
One word. But you could see literally, because I remember standing there at the podium in Chicago looking in her eyes, and you could see in her eyes, like she literally never wanted to do that again. And it raises a question, Carl, which is, what do you do and how do you sell in a world where the number one word that your customers think about, not in buying your solution, but buying a solution like yours, right, is I never want to do that again? How many deals potentially have we lost that we didn't even know were in play in the first place because they never even got to us? It's not like that we lost them in our funnel. It's the customers didn't have the confidence to even start the journey, let alone continue it, because they never want to do that again.
Absolutely. And when this was first created, we need to give credit to Martha Maddow. There was a good friend,
100%.
former colleague, as one of the key people involved in actually creating the original version. Like anything in the world of B2B buying, when we have this complexity, when we have this chaos, this is exactly where the techniques of applying framing are so powerful. And so what we're going to walk everyone through today is looking beyond the mess of all the spaghetti, arrows pointing this way, that way, and everywhere. It's that if we boil it down, there's actually a fairly small number, and specifically 4 challenges that are common across all this complexity that also become the spine of the book, the core of what we're helping sellers focus on as they attempt to help customers buy better.
Now, here's where the book, I think, hopefully becomes really valuable and helpful to everybody. Because if you're a seller, a supplier, a senior leader, look at this, like, well, if it's overwhelming for my customers to think about their own journey inside their own organization because they see they're so dysfunctional, how the heck are we supposed to even help them with it? It's like, if it's hard for them, then it's doubly hard for us. And one of the things that we're trying to do here is make it just easier for everybody. We're going to apply the concept of frame making to the problem of buying. And to do that, Carl, to your point, one of the things we had is a bit of an epiphany, and this is really credit to you in particular, as we sat and looked at the spaghetti bowl and sort of squinted at it and talked about it, discussed it, and debated it. What we came to realize is there's actually a way to think about organizing this chaotic mess, the spaghetti bowl, in a way that helps us understand what's really going on inside the customer organization, this buying complexity, that allows us to better address this complexity. What you see across the slide in sort of this illustrative manner isn't really one set of buying challenges or just 1,000 buying challenges. We think there's sort of 4 thematic challenges that customers are facing. So, and you can trace them across it. So to give you a sense of it, so some of these challenges have to do with decision complexity, just the fact that the decisions that customers are facing themselves have become so complex because of the different people and the different priorities and the order of operations. There's a set of challenges around information overload, right? There's just so much information out there. I don't even know what questions to ask. And the more I read, the more confused I become. So that's a separate challenge that's also sort of woven through the spaghetti bowl. There's a third challenge around buying group misalignment, which is all the different stakeholders involved. It's not just the high number of stakeholders, but the high degree of divergence, or if you will, diversity of thought, where they have different priorities and different metrics, making it very hard for customers to feel confident, not that you're great, but to help them feel confident that they're even aligned with each other and what they're trying to do in the first place. And then finally, there's a whole set of concerns and questions and challenges around outcome uncertainty, where I may see your value and think that you're great at helping other companies, but we'll find some way to screw it up at our company. So when you step back and you look at it, what you find is you can color code the spaghetti bowl.
Yeah, and that's where, as we were starting to work through the tactics and the ways that sellers could help buyers increase their confidence across this whole mess of the spaghetti bowl, this whole question of how we think about solving for the difficulties of B2B buying, we are able to reduce it and simplify it down to, well, wait a second, if we can find ways to help customers overcome these 4 challenges more broadly, then that'll apply to so many of the things they're struggling with across the spaghetti bowl, rather than quite as much getting after every single little grain of sand on the beach.
Oh my God, that was so hard. And again, that's when selling becomes equally overwhelming just alongside buying. So in the book, we go after, across a series of chapters, each one of these challenges individually. So what's going on with decision complexity? Why are decisions complex? What is the nature of the complexity? How did we get here? How is sort of frustrating customers? And then more specifically, how then do we take the concepts of frame making, which we'll get in some detail in future episodes as well, and apply them specifically in the context of decision complexity? And we'll do the same thing across information overload, buying group misalignment, outcome uncertainty. And what you're going to find is that the high level design principles of frame making apply equally well to each one of them. The specific application of frame making is going to be a little bit different depending on which challenge you're addressing. There's this really interesting sort of tension / hopefully helpful sort of vision of this book, Carl, which is a high level view, which is kind of what we're talking about now, but also very deep, I don't want to say in the weeds, but very tactical, right? So it's like we can get very granular about what to do about each one of these challenges. But it all starts right here with just an understanding, not only of what we're up against, but more importantly, to understand what customers are up against that's undermining their confidence in the first place.
And with the work we're doing on the workshops right now to help some of the early adopter companies address these challenges and enable their sellers to be more successful in helping their customers buy better and get more deals across the finish line. Of course, I'm really tempted to jump immediately into some of the tips and tricks and techniques around decision complexity. Maybe that's the teaser for next time.
100%. There's more to come. Pre-order the book. The Framemaking Sale is the name of the book. It'll be out September 9. If you're interested in getting your team involved in a keynote or getting involved in the early training, we are literally now working furiously to get the training built and deployed. And we've got a couple OGs, some original early adopters lined up. And we'd love to add 1 or 2 more to that list. So if you're interested, just let us know. You can find us here on LinkedIn or YouTube, or of course at our email, which is Carl or Brent at a2binsight.com. Cheers.
Cheers all.